Hello and welcome back to the Edge of Eternities limited set review. In this video, I'll be discussing all of the white cards and how good I think they're going to be in the upcoming limited environment. We focus around draft here, so as you can see, use 5 tiers. Tier 1 is good, Tier 5 is bad. The tiers are meant to loosely emulate where I would pick the cards, not necessarily how independently powerful the cards are. Because that's generally what actually matters is where you would draft the cards. I think that thinking about it like this has helped me be more rigid about um, like what it means for a card to be good or bad. It really just is like, okay, well, in pack one, where am I taking this thing? And so that's where it's supposed to be. If you enjoy that type of stuff, feel free to like and subscribe, stick around. There will be more limited content on this channel. Alright, we're beginning with All Fates Stalker. 3 and a white for a 2/3. When it enters, exile up to one target non-assassin creature until it leaves the battlefield, and you can warp it for 1 and a white. So, one of the things about this style of effect that we've seen is that it isn't like universally just kind of busted anymore. It used to just be like, oh, you put this on a 4-mana 2/3 and it's just going to be really good. And that's not necessarily true anymore. We've seen the more expensive versions of this effect sort of be bad for a while. Not like necessarily terrible, but not great. Sort of been underwhelming. This is 4 mana. 4 mana is kind of that weird hybrid spot. Like the 3 mana ones are like almost always as amazing, and the 5 mana ones are pretty medium. 4 is kind of a weird spot. It has no protection. The reason I actually like this card is really the warp ability, more so than the Banisher Priest effect. The ability that you get to just have an extra flicker effect on your like Banisher Priest thing, I think is actually pretty powerful. It allows you to like warp in general, I think is a very strong mechanic because of just the flexibility it offers you. Anything that allows you to double spell on turn 4 with an increased like frequency, I think is pretty good in limited just in general. And warp really does that very, very well. So I think that in blue white, which is the double spell deck, or like green white, like there's just a bunch of like different ways to use the warp effects um, for all of the different archetypes, and I think it's really, to me, my initial impression of the set is that warp is kind of what is going on here. Like there's the spaceships, but really the straw that stirs the drink here is going to be warp. I feel like warp is the more powerful of the things going on in this set. So anything with warp, I have my eye on, just as like this mechanic allows for a lot of flexibility, and that's quite powerful. Now, the the thing about this card, I am actually kind of interested. I kind of would have been curious to see what this thing, how this would have performed, like win rate wise, without warp. Like it would have been very interesting to me because it is in that middle ground. With warp, it's gonna it's gonna up it, I think. So it's hard to know like, oh well, what would this card be like at 4 mana? But yeah, I think this is good. I think it's a solid white card. Good start. Good way to start. Asteli Reclaimer, 3 white white for a 5/4 with flying. When it enters, return target non-creature non-land permanent from with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this creature, and you can warp it for 2 and a white. So this, you're seeing how stingy I am with tier 1 grades, right? The 5 mana 5/4 flyer that returns something that DTBs is not tier 1. Well, the thing it returns has to be non-creature. There are non-creatures in this set. There's a lot of artifacts, but like white specifically is kind of like weird to find a spot for this. I am thinking I probably should just have it be higher because like I'm gonna take, but like is it like usually a good threshold for me is I kind of am upset at myself if I put something in tier 1 and it doesn't get a 60% win rate on average on 17 lands, because that's kind of what tier 1 is supposed to indicate. Like really that's really my benchmark of like if it's not over 60, I'm pretty upset with myself. I mean, I'm not like not losing sleep over it, but that's kind of the dividing line in terms of something that I feel like, oh, well, I'm always pack one pick wanting this versus not. Like I could see taking this over this is kind of the thing. That's sort of why I'm thinking about leaving it here. Both of them are powerful warp creatures. Both of them have effects that are maybe worse than they read. Um, so it's kind of like I kind of want to put them in the same tier. This is a big like angel though, like you get your big 5/5/4 angel. 5 mana 5/4 flyer. I just don't think 5 mana 5/4 flyer is that insane, and I don't think there's enough non-creature non-land permanents to justify the extra text. I think it's good. I think it's a good card, but I don't think it's like broken. Like I think I could see myself just taking a 2-drop over it back on pick 1. Auxiliary boosters, 4 and a white for an equipment. When it enters, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token and attach this equipment to it. It gets +1/+2 and has flying, and it's equipped for 3. So I like this as a 5-drop actually. 5-drops basically never get above tier 3 ratings, especially at common. It's just really hard to take them high because there are more replaceable than your cheaper cards. But this looks like a perfectly serviceable 5-drop to me. You're getting 2 permanents. It is a 5-mana 3/4 flyer. And we know that because the equipment is the thing giving flying, like we know that the ability to move this effect around for 3 mana has been good in the past. We've seen it with the Hex Gold Hoverwings in All Will Be One, which made a 3/2 flyer for 4 to start. This I think is even a better equipment, obviously, than that, but though it is more expensive. Um, on the front, on the to buy in, right? Your back half is a little bit better. Now, do I think that moving this equipment around a bunch is going to be something that you really want to do in this set? Probably not. I think there's probably better things to be doing in this set, in particular with your mana, with warp and all the other things. But I don't mind this. I think it's a solid 5-drop. Banishing Light. 2 and white for an enchantment. When it enters, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. Um, Banishing Light has been up and down for the past year or so. It was very mediocre the first time they downshifted it to common, which I forget which set that was in. It might have been Bloomborough, but it might not have been. And then it was back up again in Duskmourn. The version of it in MKM that gained you 2 life was nuts, but this does not do that. I mean, it's fine removal, right? We know that Banishing Light's fine removal. It's fine. It's at this point of in time maybe a little bit overrated. I actually kind of like a lot of White's removal. This is sort of your catch-all removal spell, but it's kind of moved from premium to more on the medium side of cards these days. So I don't necessarily value it as highly as I used to. Beyond the Quiet, 3 white for sorcery, exile all creatures in spacecraft. So, for those that have been to one of the set reviews before or been around my channel a while, you will know that I am not a fan generally of cards like Wrath of God. This is a Wrath effect. I am generally not somebody who likes these effects in limited in general. I don't like playing with them. I don't like the build around requirements that they have usually. This one seems especially medium. Like, yes, you're getting the exile, but you can't like build around it by having spacecraft in your deck, which I think is probably more downside than upside. I don't know, maybe not. I would think that it is. You could like have it be optional, and that would have been good. They've kind of toned these down a bit recently. Like this isn't Sunfall. It's funny, like the Sunfall in standard is rotating out. This card is like so much worse than Sunfall. It's kind of wild. Um, but I mean that was Sunfall was the best card in the set, so I'm not gonna complain about not having another Sunfall run around unlimited for a couple of months. But I do think this card is fine. It's if you like Wraths, you're gonna value it higher than me. But I don't think it's anything special. Like I wouldn't be going out of my way to take this. Brightspear Zealot, 2 and a white for a 2/4 with Vigilance. It gets +2/+0 as long as you've cast 2 or more spells this turn. Not super exciting. It's 3 mana 2/4 Vigilance, which is like fine. It is like kind of big, right? Like if you actually are doing this thing, it's kind of big. The problem is you have to cast 2 spells before your combat phase, which generally means you're walking into your opponent's tricks and removal and all that stuff, which has like consequences that are maybe not always so easy to see. Like you can be in a spot where you're like where you want to attack, but then you're like, well, if I have to tap out into my opponent's mana to attack, but this is a 4/4, I'm not happy about it anymore, and that scares me. But it is kind of big. I just think that it's never really like you're never really attacking with this as a 4/4 because if you are, you're already the game is already ended because you've already won. Like any 3-drop would be good, right? Like any other 3-drop would be just as good. But I don't. The base stats aren't that bad. Cosmogrand Zenith. Oh, another thing to mention with this is that if you do cast 2 spells, you can start stationing spaceships with it, with 4 power, which is kind of a cool thing. Weird tension with red white though, because red white wants your stuff to be tapped, and if you don't have a spaceship, you're there's a space. I keep forgetting if it's spaceship or spacecraft. Hold on, it's spacecraft. Okay, if you have a spacecraft, like that's good, but red white kind of becomes like a non-functional deck if you don't have a spacecraft in play. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not a red white optimist in this set in general because usually red white when it's just like attack and hit your opponent in the face tends to be a really good deck, but when the red white archetype is like do some other weird wacky stuff and make tokens, the deck tends to not be very good. Cosmogrand Zenith. 2 and a white for a 2/4. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, choose one. Create 2/1/1 white human soldier creature tokens and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. This looks like one of the best rares in the set to me. We actually had an effect similar to this in OTJ, I believe, with the 2/4 for 3 that had a similar thing. But OTJ didn't have warp in it, so yeah, I mean, warp with this is just insane. On turn 4, even, you can do this plus warp something, and then on turn 5, it's going to be trivial to play this and warp something. And if you make 2/1/1s plus this on 5, plus you're just threatening to do everything. I mean, this just seems insane to me. I don't really have a lot to talk about here. This seems really easy to enable in this format, and I would be kind of surprised if it's like anything other than very amazing. Dawnstrike Vanguard. 5 and a white for a 4/5 lifelink at the beginning of your end step. If you control 2 or more tapped creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control other than this creature. This is a strange sort of thing. Again, like a lot of this stuff that requires having a spacecraft in play concerns me because the games where you don't have one in play, they just like can't work. And when they don't work, they're really bad. Like the rate on them is really bad because they're kind of priced with the idea that you're gonna get this trigger once. And if you don't have a spacecraft in play, you don't get the trigger once. And a problem with spacecraft in general is similar to vehicles, they don't really play that well in multiples. Like the first one can't crew the second one until you've already put a bunch of like tapped creatures into it. So I don't think you're going to want to be running more than like 4 spacecraft in a deck. I think forward is kind of pushing it. So if that's the case, and you can only run like 4 spacecraft max, and you need to have a spacecraft on the battlefield for this to work, I'm skeptical that that's going to be something that you can do. Now, a 6 mana 4/5 lifelink is kind of a weird stat line that we don't see that much. It's these large lifelink creatures tend to be pretty good, although again, 6 is kind of a bit much. It's gonna have to impress me. It's this whole like tap down your thing at the end step is really gonna need a delicate balance of how many spacecraft are in your deck, how many creatures are in your deck, and I'm concerned about that in a like week 1 environment. You know, right? Like I'm grading the cards with the whole idea that you know for now everything is drafted evenly, and if everything's drafted evenly, this to me seems like it might not be so great. Dockworker Drone, 1 and a white for a 1/1. It enters with a +1/+1 counter on it when it dies, but its counters on target creature you control. We've seen this effect many, many times, and it kind of is always worse than it looks. This is an artifact. There are things that care about artifacts. Not so much in white, really. It's more in Grixis. Grixis cares more about the artifact stuff. This Just kind of seems like a medium 2-drop. I don't think it's like terrible, but I think it is sort of whatever. There are, again, there's like the white green counter deck. You probably want this in the white green counter deck. Do you really want it anywhere else? I don't really want this in my blue white double spell deck. I don't care about it in red white at all. In black white, I think it's just like actively bad. So I don't. Yeah, this seems like it maybe plays in the green white deck, and that's it. And that's yeah. Dual Sun Adepts. Two in a green, two in a white for a 2/2 with double striking. It has the ability 5 colorless creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. So I originally had this a bit lower, but I do think this effect on a double striker is kind of something. I think a double striker in general in white in this set should be a little bit better than normal because there are a lot of +1/+1 counters running around on cards. Now, all the cards that have +1/+1 counters on them, I don't really believe in, so there's that. But I do think that this is just kind of a fine 3-drop. I think this is likely to be somewhat overrated because the 3-mana 2/2 double striker has been like low key bad for a long time. Like it's been bad since like Neon Dynasty. They printed the enchantment creature. I think that was, or it wasn't even an enchantment creature. It was just a 3-mana 2/2 double strike basically, and that card was not good. And it's been kind of they've printed some like semi close versions of that, and they've all been kind of bad. But people kind of still I think that this effect is really good. Um, for maybe the reasons that I used to think Double Strike was good was with it the first time I saw it, I like lost my mind. This it's just kind of medium. Like it's just kind of whatever. Double like it's just not. It's kind of not as impressive as it reads. Dual Sun Technique, one in a white instant. Target creature gains double strike until end of turn. It has a +1/+1 counter on it. Draw a card. So this is a cool build around card. I probably want to like bump it down though because well, it's so strong when it has the counter. Like when you have the counter and you're doing the thing, this is like super premium, very good card. The problem is you need to be doing the counter stuff. There are ways we saw the 2-drop that like you could try with this thing, but the problem is they have to like you have to get value out of the trick too. I need to move this down. This is too high. I just think it that deck I don't really believe in, and this card like this card although because the thing is your opponent can just play around this very easily. Like if you have a creature that's like a 2/2 and doesn't have a counter on it and a 2/2 with a counter on it, they can always choose to block the 2/2 without the counter on it. And then this trick just doesn't do anything. So that's quite bad. Um yeah, I mean this is just too expensive, I think. I just think it's just too it's not I don't believe in this deck basically. I'm not believing in this deck. If you're playing this deck, you'll want to take this card very late. Emergency Eject. 2 and a white for an instant. Destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a lander token. So we've seen this style of effect many times. I actually think tier 5 is a bit much in terms of how harsh I've been on it. So I think I will move it up. Lander tokens are so we had Stroke of Midnight. Now, a couple of key differences between this and Stroke of Midnight. Stroke of Midnight is one of the worst cards that's ever been put in like limited. It's horrible. It's also one of the most overrated cards that's ever been put in limited because people think that it's playable. Like you can legally put it into your deck and like not be giving up huge amounts of equity. Similarly, like Minimus Containment, stuff like that. This is more like Minimus Containment than it is the other thing. This is an instant, so that does help it. I do think tier 5 is too much in terms of how low I'm going on this, but giving your opponent a lander is pretty bad. You can hit any permanent. Any permanent is fine, but I'll go up to tier 4, and if it is actually good, then this will be the first. Then I'll have to see it to believe it. So we move that up to tier 4. I mean, it's I don't know. I kind of gotta say the fact that this is uncommon does that change my opinion? No, it doesn't. I'm clicking buttons. That's not good. Don't do that. Exalted Sunborn. 3 red white 4/5. Flying lifelink. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many are created instead, and it has warp for 1 and a white. So there are tokens, but there's not like that many of them, specifically white. doesn't make that many tokens in this set. Like the lander tokens are mostly in other colors. Yes, you make some of the 2/2 robots, but the warp for this is really just going to be for stationing and for um, just casting 2 spells a turn. Really, that's kind of going to be it. That's why you're warping this thing in. You're a 5 mana 4/5 flying lifelink is pretty good. It's very similar to how I rated the 5/4 flying. I think this one is better on when it's on the board. 4/5 lifelink is better than a 5/4. Um, they're good cards. They're just kind of big flyers, but they are 5 drops, and so that's why I have not put them in tier 1, is because 5 mana is not 2. That's kind of it. Exosuit Savior. 2 and a white, 2/2 flying. When this creature enters, return up to one other target permanent you control to its inner hand. So we've seen this effect be quite good in the past with your stockpiling Celebrant, your Pixie. A Pixie was like whatever, but this effect tends to be pretty good in limited. This format doesn't have like a ton of things to bounce. Like you can bounce your spacecraft if they have ETBs, and most of them do. There's other stuff like I guess you could bounce like a warp creature. Like you could warp something and then bounce it if you wanted to get the warp again. That's something you could do. Probably not like the most exciting, but definitely allowed. These just usually play pretty well. This is a 2/2 flyer that gets additional value when it enters the battlefield. I'm going to believe in this. It doesn't have types or anything, so that it does scare me. So, yeah. Flight Deck Coordinator. 2 and a white for a 3/3 at the beginning of your end step. If you control 2 or more tapped creatures, you gain 2 life. Pretty medium 3-drop. Not very excited. I actually should just move this down. Would be shocked if I ever play this. I would be really surprised. The stats of just a 3 mana 3/3 are pretty media, like pretty bad. Like they're just not that great. They they don't cut it anymore. They used to kind of make these guys like 2/3s and they were unplayable, and now they make them 3/3s and they're still not really playable. So onwards to Focus Fire. So single white for an instant, it deals X damage to target attacking or blocking creature, where X is 2 plus the number of creatures and or spacecraft you control. So I was originally like a bit higher on this, but I sort of remembered my mantra of like attacking or blocking is so much worse than tapped, and indeed it is. Right? The fact that it has to be doing one of those things and you don't get like as much timing certainty. There's no buyout either. But because normally these effects are quite bad, and I would rate them in like tier 4, tier 5. But this one I actually believe in because of how like this deals 4 damage very frequently. Like this can be a 1 mana deal 4, and I would say about 50% of game states, something like that. And a 1 mana deal 4 and 50% of game states is really good. Now a lot of the other percentage of the game states, it is not great, but these usually cost 1 to deal 3. Like that's just sort of the base rate. So if you're dealing 2, you're not very happy. If you're dealing 4, you're probably pretty happy. 3 is going to happen. I think 4 is going to happen more often than 2, and so that's why I have it in tier 3. But the second copy of this is not amazing. It's sort of a situational card, but I do think it's going to have a reasonable role in the format. It is very efficient when it works. Hylia, Guided by Light. 2 and a white for a 3/3. When it or another creature or artifact you control enters, you gain 1 life. At the beginning of your end step, draw a card. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, you can warp it for a single white. As I've talked about, 1 mana, actually I don't know if I talked about it here. 1 mana warp in general is just very strong, going to be very strong in this set. There are not that many cards with it. This one has it. That's actually like a lot of the reason that I have it this high. Yes, it is just good that it gains you life, and then you are going to maybe draw cards sometimes. There's some incidental life gain throughout the set, not like a ton, but there's some. And I don't know, I think this card will be pretty good, but not good enough to be top of the top. Hard Light Containment. Single white for an aura. Enchant an artifact you control. When it enters, exile target creature an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. Enchanted permanent has ward 1. So this is like a way, way worse Sheltered by Ghosts. You have to enchant an artifact. That's not super easy to do. Um, in white, there are some that it plays with, but the Sheltered by Ghosts was like a tier 1 card with a bullet. It was just the nuts. This is worse. I still think it's good. It is cheaper. Like, you are getting, a similar effect for less mana. And that's cool. You don't get lifelink, whatever. But, like, it's... Like, this type of effect is going to be pretty good if you have enough artifacts. And you only need, like, 8-ish. 8 is probably the bare minimum. And I think that's going to be pretty achievable. I do think I could move it down because of the fact that the there are not every white deck can cast this. Like, green white can't play it. Although I just hate green white in general. I don't think green white's any good. So if you're drafting a white card, do you care that it's not good in green white because green white's just never good? Probably not. Like, you probably are just like, well, I'm never drafting green white anyway. So why do I care that my card isn't good in green white? I'm probably drafting like blue white or even I guess the blue white has like the drones, but the drones are easy to remove. I'm kind of talking myself down on this in white specifically. I feel like this again. There's like this artifact thing in white. There's a couple of cards that care about artifacts, but white doesn't actually make that many artifacts. I guess the stations, which we'll get to in a bit. I'll leave it in tier 2. It's maybe a bit too high, but I'll leave it for now. Honor. Single white for a sorcery. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Draw a card. So, this card I think is quite bad in any deck that doesn't actually care that much about the counter, which I think is a lot of them. You're doing like you could like basically I don't know. I don't think this is great. I don't think every white deck wants this. I think the decks that care about counters want it, and I don't think those decks are good. So I think this card's kind of bad. That's kind of the take. If those decks turn out to be really good, cool. It is. I guess the other thing about this is it's a spell that is 1 mana that cantrips, so you can in maybe blue white you'd play this. I guess like how good is 1 mana draw a card in blue white? Just in general, it's not great. It's just not that great. I do. This is tier 4 is probably a bit too harsh. All right, move to tier 3. I I just when you think about it, it's like, okay, how good is a cantrip? It's pretty good. Cantrip by itself is pretty good, and this does give a counter. So I think tier 3 is where I'm gonna leave it. Honored Knight Captain. 1 white, 1/1. When it enters, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. You can pay 4 white and sacrifice it to search your library for an equipment card, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle. There are a couple of equipments in this set. We saw the common one. That's probably worth paying this 6 mana for, but you're probably not going to do it that frequently. But you're probably going to have one in your deck some percentage of the time. I would say close to like 50-ish. So like, I don't know. I don't see this as bad. The 2 mana make 2/1/1s. That's mostly what I'm evaluating this card as. That's okay. It's not great. It's not great. The equipment mode is nice, but it's not so nice that I feel like I need to. It's not so nice that I need to feel like I need to bump it up. I feel like this is a fine 2-drop, but I don't like Krenko's command is just not. It's not that exciting. The type, there's no like types or whatever. Night Luminary, 3 and a white, 3/2. When it enters, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. And it has warp for 1 and a white. So I really like this card. I could even move it higher. I'm thinking about it. It's a 4 drop that gives you a bad 2 drop, right? So it gives you the option to be like, okay, on turn 2, I'm gonna make a 1/1, and I'm not wasting my mana. And then on turn 4, I get a 3/2 plus a 1/1. That's pretty good. Stats are distributed well. It has warp. I'm gonna just move it up. I'm just gonna do it. I don't know. This might be a bit too much. Cause like now I'm looking at it again and I'm just like, I'm really gonna put a 4. Like these have been like bait for years. Like the 4 drop that makes a token. It used to just be like the nuts every single set, and then it just was like bad for. I mean, not bad, but like underwhelming for a full calendar year. And then now we're sort of back in the like I'm excited about this. It has I think just, it has warp. It has warp on it. I'm leaving it up here. It has warp. I'm trusting in the warp. I'm trusting. Single white or Lightstall Inquisitor. Single white for a 2/1 with a vigilance. When it enters, each opponent exiles a card from their hand and may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. Each spell cast this way costs 1 more to cast. Each land played this way enters tapped. This is mostly a Savannah Lions with Vigilance, but I actually think a Savannah Lions with Vigilance is kind of like valuable in this set. I made a note about it, like format speed. My original take is that this set would be kind of fast because of the fact that, as we'll see shortly, the rate on uncommon 2 drops has spiked. Recently, uncommon 2 drops have been quite small compared to what they were like in the pre-play booster era. But in this set, there are some that are back to their original sizes, which makes me think that the format may be a little bit faster than the past ones have. 2 power 1 drop I think is also somewhat relevant because you're stationing stuff. Like it doesn't just get blanked for the whole game like 1 drops usually do. Um, I'm not putting in like tier 1 or anything. I'm not saying it's busted, but I do think it's going to be like an above average, like pretty solid pick earlier in a draft. And again, it works with the double spell stuff. It doesn't do nothing, right? Like it can slow your opponent down, make their life a little more difficult. So although they get to choose, um, you're still you're getting something, right? Like their worst card costs a little bit more sometimes. I don't know. I kind of like it. Lumen class frigate, 1 and a white for a spacecraft. It at 2 or more charge counters on it. Other creatures you control get +1/+1, so it's an anthem. And then at 12 or more, it has flying and lifelink, and it's a 3/5. This just seems like the nuts to me. I mean, it's basically a 2 mana anthem. Like there's really you're paying almost no cost to get this online. Um, you can even like on turn you like a lot of times what's going to happen is play this on turn 2, on turn 3 play your 3 drop, tap your 3 drop to this. Now the 3 drop is bigger, and then you're just off to the races. um 12 is a lot of counters to put on it, but it's not so many when all your creatures have +1/+1, which is going to happen like all the time. Anthems are just good. It's 2 mana anthem is really good. Is kind of my take. That's kind of the hot take with this. There's no heat on the take at all. It's the coldest take ever. 2 mana anthem is very good. Luxknight Breacher, 3 and a white for a 2/2. This creature enters with a +1/+1 counter for each other creature or artifact you control. I don't like these type of cards. They can be okay sometimes, but this one's 4 mana. I'd rather play any of the other 4 drops basically. So I don't have a lot to talk about here. Like a creature needing to have other creatures on the board to be good is bad, just sort of inherently, because your opponent doesn't ever have to kill it. They can just kill all your other creatures. Sometimes the Signers is a 5/5, big deal. It's a 4 mana 5/5. Like that's even in that scenario, it's not that great. So I'm not excited about this at all. Pinnacle Star Cage, 1 white. For an artifact, when this artifact enters, exile all artifacts and creatures with mana value 2 or less until this artifact leaves the battlefield. 6 white. Put each card exiled with this into its owner's graveyard, and then create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token for each card put into a graveyard this way, and sacrifice this artifact. So it's ta-da, we fixed the standard rotation. Like, we're rotating whatever the card is that I don't remember the name of that wasn't that good in limited. Um, temporary lockdown. This is just temporary lockdown again. Wow, they've done it again, guys. They've really done it again. Um, yeah, I mean this is fine. I don't think it's amazing. These effects are generally not that great in limited. They're just too situational. If your opponent ever has a 3-drop, you're really sad. So this one at least has a buyout for 8 that like is pretty good, but I don't really think this is going to be anything special. Pulsar Squadron Ace. 1 and a white for a 1/2. When this creature enters, look the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a space card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. If you didn't put a card into your hand this way, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So worst case scenario, you miss and you get a 2/3 for 2. That's pretty good, but not as good as it used to be. Best case scenario, you draw a spacecraft. As I've talked about, the spacecrafts, there's kind of an upper limit to the number of them you want. At least that's my initial impression of it. It could be that you can just play multiples and it's fine, and the dogs take care of themselves or whatever. But like, I am concerned that there is an upper limit to the number of spacecraft that you want in your deck. And so I think this is actually just going to be a 2-mana 2/3 a lot. And that's kind of medium. 2-mana 1/2 draw a spacecraft is insanely good. So this is obviously if you have like 6 spacecrafts in your deck, you're a favorite to hit. I mean, even with 6 in your deck, you're not like a huge favorite. You're favored, but you're not. Yeah, you're only like 70% or something. I could do the math, but it doesn't. It's something in that neighborhood. Even if you have like 6, and 6 might be too many. So I don't know. I think this is a good card. It's a good 2-drop. A little wary of it because of the spacecraft limit. Radiant Strike, 3 and a white for an instant destroy target artifact or tapped creature. You gain 3 life. Gaining 3 life is really nice, and that's the only thing keeping this out of tier 5. 4 mana to destroy a tapped creature is obviously way too expensive. There are several artifacts in the set, but I don't really think you're going to want to be main decking more than one copy of this, and you could main deck a copy of it, and that's why it's not lower. But yeah, I don't love this. Ray Blade Trooper. 2 and a white for a 2/2. When this creature enters, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Whenever a non-token creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it dies, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. It has warp for 1 and a white. This just looks like it does everything. Like this is just like the all-around like white uncommon. Like it goes in every white deck. It has all the keywords. It does all the things. It makes multiple bodies. If you play it and you put the counter on itself, when it dies, it makes a 1/1. I mean, there's really just nothing not to like about this. This is kind of an example of like when I talk about like how my tiers don't necessarily reflect the exact power level. This card is rated tier 1 not because it's like hitting you over the head with how strong it is. It's tier 1 because it goes in every white deck. You can draft it early. It's going to be really good in any deck, and you take it and you just put it, and it's just gonna be in there. Like it's just gonna be in the deck. It's cheap as well. It has like the strong set mechanic. Like I'm in for this. Reroute systems. 1 and a white for an instant. Choose one target artifact or creature you control. Not creature you control. Target artifact or creature gains indestructible until end of turn. Or reroute systems deals 2 damage to target tapped creature. I really like this card. This actually, and that's why I chose it as the banner, like the display card for the start of this set review. I really like this card. The reason I do like it so much is we don't see like this level of flexibility on this effect. The 1 mana give something indestructible is pretty bad. Like by itself is pretty bad. And the 1 mana deal 2 to a tapped creature is pretty bad. But when you put them together, I feel like that's like if you're behind, you're dealing 2 to their attacker. If you're ahead, and it hits tapped creatures, so it works on like the station. Like if your opponent stations their thing, you hit their tapped creature with this, boom. Like that's why like tapped creature is so nice. You just get to You know what I mean? Take advantage of that. And then, if you're ahead, you have this and it protects your stuff. Like, it's just kind of, it's good when you're ahead, it's good when you're behind. It's not perfect in either scenario, but I think this is great. This is really good. Rescue Skiff. It's 5 and a white for a spacecraft. When it enters, return target creature or enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it has, at 10 or more counters on it, becomes this 5/6 with flying. So the reason this is high, or the reason this is low, is that it's expensive. Like, it's a 6 drop, and it takes 10 power total to actually make it turn into a 5/6 flyer. A 5/6 flyer for 6 that returns a creature or enchantment from your graveyard to the battlefield is kind of insane. Yeah, I should put this higher. This is too low. Because 10 is not completely unachievable. It probably is going to take you like 3 turns. But it's pretty realistic to think that you could get to 10 on this in a reasonable amount of time. I've decided to leave it here. I just think that the cost is very high. So, that is all. Scout for Survivors. 2 and a white for sorcery. Return up to 3 target creature cards with total mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a +1/+1 counter on each of them. We've seen this type of effect before. It tends to be pretty bad. You kind of need like, yeah, you kind of just need like a bunch of like cheap creatures. It doesn't work with like. I need to actually move this down. Hold on. Like, it's just so hard to get this to do anything because you need to be playing like a bunch of 1 drops, and there just aren't that many good ones these days in limited. There just aren't that many good 1 drops these days. So how are you gonna get 3? Like, how are you gonna get even 2 creatures with this? You're just not. It's gonna be 1 creature. So I'm off it. Seam Rip. Single white for an enchantment. When it enters, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value 2 or less until this leaves the battlefield. So we saw Portable Hole in AFR, which is basically what this is. Portable Hole was okay. The second copy was quite bad. That's kind of how I feel about this too. Um, don't play like a ton of these, but the first one's okay. I could even just move it down for that because, like, whatever. The first copy of this is fine. The second copy is really not. Is really not. Yeah, it's just not. It's just not what you want. But usually there's enough targets that this will hit something. It is an enchantment. There's some stuff with that. The Ceremia, I don't know. 1 white for a spacecraft. When I enter, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. And once you get to 7 counters, it's a flying 5/5. Other tapped legendary creatures you control have indestructible. There just aren't that many legends in the set. There's enough that you can. There's enough that, like, pretty likely you will be able to have 1 or 2 in your deck. The problem is that a lot of them are rare. Like, there's not that many uncommons. This actually tutors. This is mostly just a spacecraft. Um, that is kind of efficiently costed, right? Only 7 counters to turn into a 5/5 flying for 3 mana. That seems like it's pretty achievable. Um, so I think that's kind of the thing that you want with this. But yeah, I don't know how many legends, and it's pretty likely that you could have a legend in your deck. So I think this is good, but just not like completely broken. It is double pipped as well. This could be one of those ones that's just really bad. Like that, I could totally see that. Squire's Lightblade. Single white for an equipment with flash. When it enters, attach it to target creature you control. That creature gains first strike until end of turn. I like that you have to attach it to target creature you control. You don't have an option to not do that. Interesting. Equipped creature gets +1/+0, and you equip it for 3 colorless. Yeah, we just saw this be really bad in they finally like aggressively cost it in the last set at 1 red mana to do the same thing, but you could equip it for 1. Afterwards, that wasn't very good. This, I, yeah, I'm not buying in. I'm not buying into this. I'm not buying in. It does have types. Starfield Shepherd. 3 white for a 3/2 with flying. When this creature enters, search your library for a basic plains card, or a creature with mana value 1 or less, reveal it and put it in your hand, and then shuffle, and has warp for 1 and a white. Yeah, I mean, this is just the nuts, right? This is exactly what you want your 5-drop to do. It has warp. Warp's great. Warp allows you to um, get extra value. It means you hit your land drops, and then you get to cast your 5-drop more easily. I mean, this is just fantastic. Like, I really like everything about this card. I could even move it up to tier 1, and maybe I just should do that, because I don't really see any reason not to. Like, obviously, it's kind of like, oh, I'm playing a land cycler on turn 2, and it kind of is like that, but then your land cycler also draws you another card that's also a land, that also draws you more lands. 5-mana 3/2 for a flyer is also pretty good. I'm gonna just move it up, yeah. I'm down to move it up. I'm in. I'm being generous today. Sometimes. Starfighter Pilot. 1 on a white 2/2. When this creature becomes tapped, surveil 1. Tier 5 is probably too much. It is a lot easier to tap this than the guy in LCI, but that was an artifact too. Ah. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just hate these 2-drops that don't do anything. I guess you're surveilling one. I think this is worse than the thing that has a counter on it. Nah, I think this is bad. I'm off it. I hate it. I'm a hater. On Starport Security. Single white for a 1/1. Pay 3 and a white and tap it to tap another target creature, and you can cost 2 less to activate if you control a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. So this can have the counter on it as well. These 1-mana tappers, 4 is too much and 2 is pretty good. So if you do have the counter stuff going on, this is pretty good. The problem is, again, I don't really believe in the counter stuff. So we'll see. We'll see if this proves me wrong, but I am pessimistic about it. Sunstar Chaplain. 1 on a white, 3/2. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 2 or more tapped creatures, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. You can pay 2 to remove a +1/+1 counter from a creature you control to tap target artifact or creature. Yeah, I mean, this looks really good. The thing is, it's just a good 2-drop, right? It's just a good 2-drop, and then it also has bonuses. Like, it can just run away with the game. It really plays really well with station and all that stuff. Yeah, this is just the nuts, right? Again, another thing that's like, well, I mean, is it the strongest card ever? No, but you can just take it, pack 1, pick 1, and you're going to be really happy, and it's going to go in your deck. Like, it's just the perfect card to take early in a draft. And that's what we care about here. So that's why we like it so much. Sunstar Expansionist. 1 and a white, 2/3. When it enters, if an opponent controls more lands than you, create a lander token. And it has a landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. I should move this up, to be honest. Even though I saw this as the land tax effect, and I was like, nope, I hate those. Those always get overrated. But no, this is just a 2-mana 2/3 with landfall that attacks as a 3/3. And sometimes you make a lander token. Yeah, I mean, this is just the nuts. Another tier 1 2-drop in white, really? I think so. I think it will be. Just more 2-drops that are really easy to just be like, pack 1, pick 1, take that, put it in my deck. There we go, move on. Sunstar Lightsmith. I am kind of being a little. I'm giving out a lot of tier 1s. This is more tier 1s than I normally give out. So I gotta rein myself in maybe. Sunstar Lightsmith. 3 and a white for a 3/3. When you cast your second spell each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and draw a card. So 4 mana 3/3 draw a card. If that were just what this card was, that would be pretty good. That would actually have a higher rating than the rating I've given this card. The reason the rating is lower is the conditionality of it all, right? Yes, this works with warp, but that really is going to take till turn 6 in most games, or 6 mana, which is not always turn 6. It's usually turn 7. So that's a while. You can just run this out on turn 4 as a 3/3, but then you're playing a Hill Giant, which is pretty bad. I'm just going to be honest. Hill Giants aren't very good these days. So I do think this is very powerful, but I am very wary to give it a high grade because of how expensive it is to get going. It is a huge threat, and your opponent has to kill it, and if they don't kill it, they lose. But it's also more awkward than maybe it looks. Wedgelight Rammer. 3 and a white. For a spacecraft, when it enters, create a 2/2 colorless robot artifact creature token. And for 9 or more charge counters, it becomes a 3/4 with flying and first strike. Yeah, I mean, this is just a great uncommon. Like, it's an artifact, it's a spacecraft, it allows you to tap your stuff, it impacts the board. Yeah, there's nothing not to like about this. It's just 4 mana instead of 2, like the cards that I have rated above it. The cards that I've rated above it mostly are cheaper than it, and that is why they are rated more highly. Weft Blade Enhancer. 5 and a white for a 3/4. When it enters, put a +1/+1 counter on each up to 2 target creatures, and you can warp it for 2 and a white. So I don't love this, 6-drop, not super exciting. The warp on it's really nice. I'm definitely interested in moving this up. I'm definitely like I'm looking for real estate on the Weftblade Enhancer Island, but I'm not interested in making a purchase this time. I'm kind of like I'm on Zillow. I'm looking at real estate on the island, and I'm saying Weftblade Enhancer. Am I gonna become a Weftblade Enhancer guy? Is that gonna be me? Am I gonna be that? Is that where I'm gonna be at in the world? And I'm thinking about it, but I'm not gonna do it. And if I'm wrong, that's okay with me. I'm okay with being wrong about a 6-drop in this direction. But we're gonna start low expectations. We're starting with low expectations. But we have our eye on it. We have our eye on this one. I do kind of like this one. And the last white card, Zealous Display. 2 and white for an instant. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. If it's not your turn, untap those creatures. These 3 mana they're not anthem effects, they're trumpet blast effects. There we go. Look at me knowing what the cards from the past are. This one does sort of work on blocks a little bit. Unclear to me, like, you can go a little bit wide. There's that 2-drop that I sort of didn't like that much. But there's other ways to go wide and white. Not a ton of them, but there are some. And yeah, I mean, this is like not that good. Just Trumpet Blast isn't that good, really. And then Trumpet Blast on defense is worse. So that's it. That's all the white cards. Thank you for joining me on the adventure here. Edge of Eternities, I'm excited. White's got some ups and some downs. A lot of very powerful uncommon 2-drops in white. 2 mana is the place to be. 2 mana is the place to be in this set. 2 is going to be the key number. We're back. 2-drops are back. And that's all I got to say. See you.